In 1947, the long shadow of British rule over India finally receded. The top administrative post passed to C. Rajagopalachari, the first and last Indian to hold the title of Governor-General of a free India. But his title carried a complex history. Over 2 centuries of British presence, the supreme administrative post shifted names constantly, from governor to governor-general to viceroy. Why did the British keep changing what they called their top official? To answer that, we have to rewind to 1757. After Robert Clive secured a decisive military victory at the Battle of Plassey, the British East India Company appointed him to their newly created position, Governor of Bengal. Clive instituted a system called dual government. Under this setup, the company took over the Diwani, collecting the regional tax revenue. Meanwhile, the local Nawab was handed the Nizamate, leaving him with the heavy burden of running the administration, but with zero financial power. This initial governor title belonged to an employee of a trading entity, not a nation builder. It functioned as a strategic layer of separation, allowing a foreign corporation to extract wealth without governing the people they took it from. By 1773, that unchecked extraction led to rampant corruption and financial chaos within the company. The British Parliament was forced to intervene. They passed the Regulating Act, elevating the top post to a new centralized title, Governor-General of Bengal. Warren Hastings was the first official to step into this upgraded role. One of his immediate actions was to abolish the fractured dual government system entirely, bringing the administrative responsibilities directly under British oversight. His successor, Lord Cornwallis, organized this new authority. He built a structured bureaucracy, earning the moniker Father of Civil Services in India, and locked in predictable land tax collections through the Permanent Settlement of 1793. Then came Lord Wellesley, who used this centralized power to push outward. To eliminate French influence and expand British territory, he introduced a policy known as the Subsidiary Alliance system. This was an aggressive diplomatic trap. Indian states were pressured to disband their own militaries and accept British troops for protection. In exchange, they surrendered their foreign policy to the company, effectively reducing them to dependent vassals. By consolidating authority under the Governor-General of Bengal, the East India Company shed its identity as a group of rogue merchants. They were now functioning as systematic, expanding empire builders. The scope of their territory grew so large that in 1833, Parliament passed a new Charter Act. This established total authority across all British holdings, renaming the post to the ultimate title, Governor-General of India. Lord William Bentinck was the first to hold this nationwide title. He used his sweeping powers to implement progressive social reforms, working alongside Indian reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy to legally abolish the practice of sati in 1829. But that immense authority could easily be weaponized. When Lord Dalhousie took office in 1848, he used the position's absolute power to aggressively alter the map of the subcontinent.
Dalhousie implemented the Doctrine of Lapse. Under this policy, if an Indian ruler died without a natural heir, the British refused to recognize an adopted successor. Instead, they automatically absorbed states like Satara, Jhansi, and Nagpur directly into their empire. Dalhousie also laid the first railway lines and telegraph wires, but combined with his ruthless land grabs and charges of misgovernance, these actions sparked deep, widespread resentment. Almost immediately after his departure, this simmering anger exploded into the massive and historic Revolt of 1857. The total corporate control established by the Governor-General of India pushed the populace to its breaking point. The resulting rebellion was so severe that it permanently dismantled the East India Company itself. In the aftermath of the rebellion, the British Parliament passed the Government of India Act 1858. They stripped the company of all its power and transferred sovereignty directly to the British Crown, creating one final title, Viceroy of India. Lord Canning acted as the bridge. He served as the very last Governor-General under the company and the very first Viceroy under the Crown. Under the Crown, the Viceroy's administrations swung back and forth. On one side were highly reactionary figures. Lord Lytton passed the Arms Act, criminalizing the bearing of arms by Indians without a license. Decades later, Lord Curzon deliberately partitioned Bengal along communal lines. Conversely, leaders like Lord Ripon attempted a more liberal approach, passing resolutions to introduce local self-government and repealing restrictive press laws. This erratic shifting characterized a massive bureaucracy struggling to maintain its grip. As the 20th century progressed, the Viceroy's office was forced to grapple with massive independence movements. Administrations under Chelmsford and Irwin deployed severe violence, such as the passing of the Rowlatt Act and the tragedy at Jallianwala Bagh, alongside desperate diplomatic concessions, like the Gandhi-Irwin Pact of 1931. The title of Viceroy represented the peak of direct imperial rule. Yet rather than subduing the population, the oppressive weight of the Crown's policies drove millions of Indians together into a unified nationalist force. Through successive waves of civil disobedience, from the non-cooperation movement to the Dandi March, the Indian populace systematically dismantled the authority that the Viceroy's office relied on to govern. By 1947, the position was hollowed out. The final British Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, was sent to India with exactly one primary task: to oversee partition and the rapid passage of the Indian Independence Act. Which brings us back to C. Rajagopalachari. As the dust of empire settled, he stepped in to manage the brief transition, guiding the new nation until India formally adopted its constitution and became a republic in 1950. For nearly 200 years, the supreme British title in India evolved. It originated as a shield for corporate extraction, expanded into a tool for aggressive conquest, and climaxed as the symbol of direct imperial dominance. In the end, it collapsed completely when faced with the unified will of a free people.